Today, we are going to continue practicing main idea while looking at migration in Native Americans. So yesterday, we learned some things about Native Americans with their push and pull factors for migrating. What were some reasons that Native Americans had to migrate that we learned about yesterday? What were some push and pull factors? You can go ahead and raise your hands, guys, so you can share. What were some push and pull factors of reasons that Native Americans migrated? Timothy?
To find food,
Say it again.
to make clothes and find food.
Yeah, to find food. Some Native Americans had to move often because they would consume all of the food in that area and they didn't want to damage it, so they would move to a new area. That would be a pull factor. Alejandra?
Which like the Native American tribe we learned about yesterday had to leave because like the U.S. government and American federal was taking their resources and killing their buffalo.
Yeah, there was some competition with different communities coming in and taking resources. In the chat, Benny says their land was being taken. Yes, there were European settlers who were coming over and were declaring that the land was now theirs. So there were some battles taking place. Christopher, what did you have to say?
That they had to leave because the land was being taken away and their resources.
Yes. One of the main reasons that Native Americans migrated was because they were forced to. There was a lot of fighting going on, and some tribes tried to fight and stand up for their land. And some tribes said, we're not going to be able to win this battle. Let's just go somewhere else. So it was being taken from them pretty unjustly. It was not fair. Just imagine that. Imagine someone coming to your home right now and saying, this is mine now, go away. Right? That's not right. So there were some natural reasons for them to move as we started out our conversation regarding food and resources around them. And then there were some unnatural reasons that forced them to leave their land and go somewhere else as well. Today, we're going to continue looking at reasons that Native American tribes had to move. Yesterday, we focused on Spanish settlers coming to America. Today, we're going to focus on French settlers coming to America and seeing what happened to the Native American tribes when the French settlers came. We're going to look specifically at main idea. I want you to remember that main idea tells what a text is mostly about, okay? So, to begin, we have a video lesson from Mr. McKinney. Mr. McKinney is going to take us through a couple textbook pages about Native Americans. He's going to model coming up with the main idea for a page. Then you today are going to be coming up with the main idea for a page of a text as well. Okay? Any questions before we get started about our Native American topic or about main idea? Okay, awesome. Alrighty, so here is your video lesson from Mr. McKinney.
Today we are going to talk about main idea. We talked a little bit about main idea a few weeks ago, and there was a song about it. The lyrics went something like, the main idea is what it's all about. All you need to do is look around. Where do I go in order to know the main idea? You can find it in the title of the story, in the first or last sentence, but try not to hurry. It could be anywhere, so look in the passage. You can find it in the pictures, if they have them. So I want to read this page, and I want to try to discover what the main idea is. What is it mostly about? Now, I do want to tell you that this page has a lot of words, a lot of big words, and it's kind of long. And I just want you to know that that's okay. We can still try to find the main idea, even if we can't completely understand all of the words. even if we can't understand everything that it's saying. We just have to try our best. So let's start. Exploring Indiana. The French claimed lands in what is today Canada. In the early 1600s, they had founded a colony called New France. A colony is a settlement that is ruled by a faraway government. Everyone say colony.
Colony.
Okay. The English started colonies along the Atlantic coast of North America. French explorers. From New France, French explorers traveled around the Great Lakes. The first European to visit what is now Indiana was René Robert Cavelier, known as Sieur de La Salle. Everyone say La Salle.
La Salle.
La Salle wanted to find a water route across North America to the Pacific Ocean. He also wanted to expand the fur trade and to claim new lands for France. Fall of 1679, La Salle led an expedition around the eastern shore of Lake Michigan. An expedition, everyone say expedition.
Expedition.
An expedition is a journey into an area to learn more about it. Eventually, the explorers found the mouth of the St. Joseph River. La Salle and his crew paddled up the river. After 2 days, they reached the southern bend in the river where the city of South Bend, Indiana, is today. La Salle's Native American guide, White Beaver, led the explorers overland to the Kankakee River. From there, they paddled west to the Illinois River. La Salle built a fort near where Peoria, Illinois is today. Then he went back to New France for supplies. Okay, that was a lot of reading, and if you did not completely understand everything about that, that is okay. We can still try to find the main idea by remembering the words to that song. The first thing the song said was you can find it in the title of the story. Now remember, it doesn't always give it away, but some of these hints may help you find what the main idea is. So let's look at the title. What is the title of this page?
Exploring Indiana.
Exploring Indiana. So I know the main idea has something to do with Indiana. Now we could look at the first sentence, we could look at the very last sentence, but the song also says that it could be anywhere. So we know it has to do with exploring Indiana, but in order to find the main idea, it's also important to look for repeated words or repeated names. What name was repeated throughout this passage?
La Salle.
La Salle. Everyone say La Salle.
La Salle.
So now I know the main idea has something to do with exploring Indiana and La Salle. So if that's all we understood, we could develop some sort of very simple main idea from just those two ideas. Exploring Indiana and La Salle. So I could start off by saying the main idea of page 94 is about a man named who?
La Salle.
La Salle, who wanted to explore, I could say Indiana, but I also recognize other names in there that were areas around Indiana. So I could say who wanted to explore Indiana and other areas around it. So that's a simple main idea that we could get just from the title, Exploring Indiana, and recognizing that the name La Salle was repeated multiple times. Now, I could also go through and find anything really significant or really important about LaSalle. I could look down here where it first mentions LaSalle and highlight a couple areas where it really gives a couple important details about who LaSalle is and what he wants to do. The highlighted area says LaSalle wanted to find a water route across North America to the Pacific Ocean. He also wanted to expand the fur trade and claim new lands for France. So that is a lot of good information. I think the biggest thing out of that is that he wanted to claim new lands. Imagine if you were to explore an area where nobody ever explored before. If you were the first one there or one of the first ones there, you would probably want to claim that land. So that's probably really important for LaSalle. So another main idea, again, remember, you can have more than one main idea as long as it discusses what it's mostly about. I could also say something like the main idea of page 94 is about a man named who?
LaSalle.
LaSalle, who wanted to claim new lands for France. We could even say who explored Indiana and wanted to claim new lands for France. So these are just a couple examples of a main idea you could write about that page. And again, it's okay if you don't understand the whole thing. It's okay if you don't understand all the words. All that I care about is that you try your best and that you look for the hints, just like the song tells you to. Look in the title, look in the first or last sentence. You can find it anywhere. If there's pictures, that might help you with an idea. So the next thing I want you to do is go to page 95, which is on slide 3, and I want you to do this one with your teacher. After you do that with your teacher, I challenge you to try to work on page 96 and 97, which is on slide 5 and 6. And I want you to try to read that and try to discover what the main idea is on those pages. Don't forget to do your best, never give up, and good luck.
All right. So before we jump into working on another main idea together, I'm going to send you into some breakout rooms, and I want you to have some conversation about whether or not it was fair for the French to come over and try to get new land in America. Do you think it was fair for them to come to the land of America and try to get new land? Was that a fair choice for them to make? Was that a fair thing for them to do? And again, I want you to be thinking actively about all of the information we have learned so far about Native Americans. And I also want you to think about the information that you have about how your life is right now, because right now all of us are on American soil. So was it fair for the French to come over and try to get Native American, or try to get the land in America? Was that a fair choice? Okay. All righty, I'm going to open up your breakout rooms, and then I want to hear from you when you get back. Here you go. So, what are your thoughts? Was it fair for the French to come over and take new land in America? Vinny, what do you think?
No, it wasn't fair because they probably already had a land.
Okay, a vote for no and a supportive reason. Christopher, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that it's not fair because how would the people that live in America, how would they have if the French took them over and never let the Americans in back.
Okay, so you say it's not fair with your supportive reason of the people that were already living here. Terrence, what are your thoughts?
It's not fair because they already have land and because they have to sign a paper to get the land because it's not their land that they own yet.
Okay, so you say there's people already there, so it's not fair to come in and make that change. Thank you. What are your thoughts?
Um, it's not fair because they already got a couple lands already.
Okay, there's already people there. How can they do that? Is your thoughts, your vote. Alrighty. Thank you for sharing. More thoughts? Any more thoughts? Okay. We're going to continue on looking at the main idea of the pages that Mr. McKinney asked for us to look at. It's going to continue to explore what happened when the French came over to get new land in America. On your seesaw, you have an activity which has been released to you called Main Idea, Migration and Early Settlers. Main Idea, Migration and Early Settlers. I'd like for you to go ahead and click on that add response. And again, you'll want to split your screen so that you can see Zoom, and over here you can see your screen because we're going to try to work on this together. Okay, so on Seesaw, go ahead and open up Main Idea, Migration and Early Settlers. Alrighty. Mr. McKinney gave us those verbal directions, but just to review, on slide 3 and 4, we're going to work on this with me, your teacher. We're going to read page 95, and we're going to try to find the main idea and write it on slide 4. You are going to find the main idea of pages 96 and 97, and they go together independently during your work time today. Okay, that is what you are going to be completing. Alrighty, so you should have had time to click on that add response. You will see page 1 is what Mr. McKinney read to us regarding the French and LaSalle. Page 2 are the 2 main ideas that he came up with. Remember, there can be more than one main idea, as long as you have details to support it. Go to slide 3. This is what we are going to read. We are going to read on slide 3, and you'll see in the corner, this is page 95. So we're going to read slide 3, but page 95. As we are reading, you need to be thinking, what is this mostly about? Okay, so what ideas do you see repeated over and over? What important words are you hearing? What is the title telling you? You're looking for clues about the main idea. Okay? All righty. Amariel?
My internet swims slow.
Sorry, girlfriend, I know that's frustrating. All righty, we're looking at page 95, which is on slide 3. I'm going to read that, and I'm actually going to have my highlighter tool ready to go. So go ahead and get your highlighter tool. That way, when we find something that we think is important, we can highlight it. Okay, so have your highlighter tool ready to go. Here we go. The fur trade. LaSalle's reports about fur-bearing animals in the region brought fur traders to Indiana. Missionaries also came to teach Native Americans about the Christian religion. A missionary is a person who teaches his or her religious beliefs to others. Okay, so 2 things happened. People came here to trade animal furs. People came here to teach religions. Trade grows. So now I'm thinking it's going to be getting bigger. Even more people are going to come. That's my prediction for this word grows. Native Americans trapped beavers and other animals for their fur. Wow, I'm hearing a lot about the word fur. Look, the word fur is right here in the title. It says right here that there are fur-bearing animals in the region. And down here again, I'm seeing about how Native Americans trapped beavers and other animals for their fur. So I'm thinking fur is probably going to be in my main idea. These furs, look, there it is again, sold for high prices in Europe, where they were scarce or hard to find. So these animals were difficult to find in Europe, where these settlers came from. The fur trade, oh my gosh, there's the word fur again. The fur trade in North America grew quickly. In return for furs, European traders offered Native Americans goods such as tools, knives, guns, blankets, and beads. So that's what they were trading with the Native Americans. I'm going to highlight that. So the Native Americans gave the Europeans furs, and the Europeans gave the Native Americans tools, knives, guns, blankets, and beads. So this was in a time when there wasn't a common money system for different people. So instead of saying, I'm going to pay you $50 for that blanket, they would say, here's a blanket. I think that's worth about 7 of your furs. And then they would trade those items. So trading is something you guys are familiar with. We do it all the time, but that's how people usually paid for their items when Native American tribes were in early American times, was they would trade their items. Okay, let's keep going. When the French traders had gathered a large number of furs, they gave them to voyagers. Voyager is a French word meaning traveler. The voyagers took the furs by canoe to Montreal. From there, the furs were shipped to Europe. Then the voyagers brought back more goods to trade with Native Americans. The arrival of the French changed the way the Native Americans live. That sounds really important. Let's go ahead and highlight that. If you're going to change the way someone lives, that's a really big deal. The arrival of the French changed the way the Native Americans lived. Here's how it changed. They began to hunt with guns and wear clothing made of cloth instead of animal skins. Their religious beliefs were questioned by missionaries. So those are 3 really big changes. Native Americans did not even know what a gun was until Europeans came. So that was a really big change in the way they could hunt food and protect themselves. Instead of using bow and arrows or spears made from rocks, they could now use guns. They also began to wear clothes made of cloth. That's why I can see all of you. We're all wearing cloth today. Native Americans used to wear the skin of animals as clothes. So cloth was a new invention to them as well, which, as you can tell from wearing it every day, was a pretty big deal. And also their religious beliefs were questioned. So many of the Native Americans have a religion that believes that Earth works as a God and a spirit all in one. And that was not a common belief for Europeans, in this case, the French. And they wanted to say, I don't think what you think is right. And they challenged that. Okay. So life for Native Americans changed, but it changed a lot because of the fur trade. So trading those goods was why Native Americans interacted with French a lot. Okay. So let's go ahead and take all of this information and think about it. We've highlighted fur, 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 fur. So don't you think that should be in our main idea? If it's said 5 times, yeah. So fur is definitely going to be in our main idea. What is super important from this text? So what about the fur? Why is fur important for this text? I'm going to send you into your breakout rooms, and I want you and your group to talk about, why is fur important? Why do we need to know about fur for Native Americans? What was important about this? Okay, and we had somebody leave, so let me readjust these groups really quick. There we go. Okay. So you're going to figure out what is the main idea. What is it about fur that is so important from this text that we should write about? Okay. That was the wrong button. All righty, you were asked to discuss what is the importance of fur for the Native Americans and how did it change their lives, okay? So I'm curious about what you talked about. Let's see, who haven't we heard from this morning? Oscar, there you go. What about you? What do you think? Why was fur important to Native Americans?
Because it made them warm, like for winter. And like
It made Europeans warm. They wanted the fur. Yeah. So that was important for the Native Americans to give it to the Europeans. What did the Native Americans get when they made the fur for the Europeans? What did they get? Do you remember?
yeah, yeah.
They made some trades. So how did it change their life? What differences did they see inside of their lives? Aiden G?
That the fur helped them survive in the winter, and they could trade it for clothes, blankets, and everything else that they need.
Yeah, they got some resources that made their life easier as well. They got different tools. They got new weapons to hunt and protect themselves. They got new things like blankets that would make them warmer and easier to survive winters. Very good. So there were a lot of changes that were brought to the Native Americans' life because of the fur trade. So it wasn't just about the fur, but it was about all of the changes that happened. Okay. So let's go ahead and record that main idea. Let's go to slide 4. We're going to type this main idea together. Let's use the typing tool so we can save some time. And I'm going to go ahead and make my box large now. That way I can fit everything here. Okay. The main idea of page 95 is, I'll let you go ahead and get that typed. The main idea of page 95 is so we're typing on slide 4. And we said that word fur needed to be in our main idea. We highlighted it 5 times. The main idea of page 95 is the fur trade that's a topic. We're not going to stop there because we don't know whose fur trade, what fur trade, why did they fur trade, so we got to add more. We just know we need that word fur in our main idea. So the main idea of page 95 is the fur trade changed the lives of Native Americans. And we talked about a lot of changes. We talked about their religion changing. We talked about their weapons changing. We talked about the way they would survive by staying warm with cloth and blankets changing. There were a lot of changes that happened because of the things they traded for furs. So the main idea of page 95 is the fur trade changed the lives of Native Americans. Questions or comments as we go? Levin?
I thought it would be trading furs with the European
with the Europeans.
Say it again.
Changing lives.
What about their lives?
I thought it was going to be trading furs with Europeans and changing lives.
Oh, you think Europeans should be in there? I could get down with that because inside of our text, it did talk about the Europeans a lot. So we could add that. The main idea of page 95 is the fur trade changed the lives of Native Americans and Europeans. We could add that in there. Great call, Evan. Vinny, something to add? What?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I saw your hand emoji. All righty. So this is what you are going to do today during independent work time. Your instructions ask you on your own to complete slides this should actually say 5 and 6, to read pages 96 and 97 and find the main idea. So page 5 and 6 here have a section of text that you are going to read and tell me what it's mostly about, okay? So the main idea of page 5, slide 5 and 6, they go together. This is page 1 of that, page 2. And you have a very large hint inside of the title, war over land. So you're probably going to learn about the wars that were happening that we've talked about. And then you're going to tell me the main idea here, okay? Remember, your main idea should be a sentence. So we're not just going to say the main idea is war. That doesn't tell me what war you're talking about. It doesn't tell me what happened in the war. Gotta be specific in our main idea, okay? So you are going to read slides 5 and 6 and tell me the main idea. Are there questions on your assignment expectation before we talk about our schedule? Any questions about what you are going to do? Okay, so again, during work time, you are going to continue this assignment by looking at slide 5 and 6 and writing the main idea of those pages. Okay, all righty.